Looks like, wow, that was fast. We're live already.
Yeah.
And I'm on the crappy mic again this week. I think my theory is that it's a Chrome bug because I tried it works fine in Skype and it works fine on other apps on my computer, but anything I try in Chrome just does not work. And it's survived multiple reboots of my Mac, so it's definitely not like some silly easy to fix hardware issue.
Right. That makes sense.
Tried plugging it directly into my computer too, but no dice.
What was it plugged in with before?
USB hub,
Oh,
which is
okay.
plugged into my ginormous monitor.
Your panoramic monitor.
Yes.
I will admit I am a little jealous.
I have to say I could go for more of like a, closer to a 180 sweep all the way around me. That
Oh,
would
there
be
you go.
pretty sweet. It has a gentle curve to it. It's not doesn't quite envelop me the way I would like. But yeah, it's been a huge productivity booster. I have to keep reminding myself that I can put like instructions on this side of the screen, and because I'm so used to working on the little tiny single screen MacBook.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
How are things in Chuck's world?
It's raining outside. I still haven't dug the rest of the hole to fix my water, so.
So you established that it's definitely outside then?
Nope, I haven't actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm still just running the temporary setup,
Okay.
but I ain't digging it today because it's raining. So, if it clears up tomorrow and the pit doesn't look like I will sink to the bottom of the world in it, then I might try tomorrow. But
Nice. So you still haven't found like the actual problem?
no, I haven't. I haven't even tried.
Okay.
It's been kind of a crazy week. Just getting things set up as far as um, like making sure the production process. So I guess we'll just dive right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
So yeah, so I've been doing Angular Dev Summit all week. Um, that added about 700 people to the mailing list.
Okay. Nice.
Which is a positive thing.
Yeah.
I actually had one person because it's set up to automatically send emails out. Hey, thanks for signing up. Here's how you get in. The next email that goes out the next day is, hey, here are some of the common questions I get. And then the third email is, hey, the price is going to go up, so you need to get a ticket now.
Okay.
Except I'm done raising the price. The price is now at the highest it's going to be. Somebody got that email right after I'd raised the price yesterday, and so they sent me a nasty email and said, I would have bought it for the $97 price, but I'm not spending $500 on this. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I need to just go in and take that email back out, or deactivate it, or
That
however
is
you
the
do that.
downside to automation.
Yeah. But anyway, it's been going really well. The attendees have really been enjoying the talks. I'm getting all kinds of good feedback. I'm going to ask for some testimonials so I can just throw those into the automation and marketing around the next one.
That's great.
And then, yeah, so that's kind of been taking up a lot of time. And then my wife flew out to Texas this morning. She's on the plane right now. So, and I'm still doing the conference. So my 11-year-old is chasing the 1-year-old. Making sure that she's okay. He's actually feeding her lunch right now.
Okay.
But she came in here about 20 minutes ago. And I have my door shut so she wouldn't come in, but she just kind of threw herself against it until it popped open. So anyway, so she comes in here and, I'm in the middle of moderating a Q&A between the speaker and the attendees. So.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I don't think they might have heard her a little bit, but she was pretty quiet. She just wanted to cuddle up on my lap, so it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, then yeah, so I set up a whole bunch of automation for the production of the shows. So it was funny. I was trying to set it up in I don't know if you've heard of Fulcrum.
No, I have not.
It's a Pivotal Tracker clone. and I was just trying to get that all running because it's semi-free and it's an agile development tool. And I thought, oh yeah, this will be nice because then it shows everything where it is in the workflow, because the Trello style board just isn't working for me there. Because so and so now has to assign the task to the next so and so. And anyway, so I got it so that it now adds the episode if it's pre-production. In other words, it hasn't been recorded yet. It goes into the pre-production workflow and it has a whole bunch of subtasks assigned, and it does that automatically through Zapier.
Very nice.
And then once I move it to post-production, then it assigns all the post-production tasks.
Oh, nice.
So that's worked out. I had to do a little bit of training with Eric and Gerald and a few other people, but that's working out. Gerald will probably be completely up to speed on this stuff by Monday. And then, I don't even have to do half of the extra stuff after we release an episode, because he'll just email the guest and let them know it's out and create the click to tweet and all the other stuff that I'm doing with it. And it'll all happen without me thinking about it. So at this point, it's just a matter of getting new technical writers in for the show notes. And I've got a job listing, probably going to reach out to people today and, just tell them, look, I'll pay you, I'll pay you to do show notes for, this episode. I'll have 5 or 10 people do that. And then I'll hire a few of them and see how that goes. And then, so that's all kind of coming together. And then I started working things out because I had a few requests for what's your availability for sponsorships. And so I started looking, and I realized that I don't know exactly when my first open spot is for some of the shows. And so I started filling that in, and I realized that the ad hoc, sort of in my head, sort of in my email, sort of in Asana way that I was handling it before, really isn't working. So I kind of got a little overwhelmed with that yesterday. So I'm trying to just get that handled today so that I can email out and get, get people to renew their sponsorships if they're going to do that. And then I can reach out to some of these folks and say, okay, here's the first opening, right?
Right.
Or at least I can say, look, I've got a couple of pending renewals. So if the renewals go through, then this is the first open spot. And if they don't, then this is the first open spot if that changes anything. So, yeah. But
nice.
Anyway, it's just kind of been nonstop this week. And I've been staying up late trying to get show notes done and things. I finally decided that I needed to just release the episodes without the show notes and then come back and get the show notes done.
Oh.
And that way
that's a good thought. That should probably be the default.
Yeah. So anyway, at this point, I want the show notes done before they release.
Right.
But if they're not done, then I'm just going to release.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that I'll have time to get caught up this weekend, but my wife's gone. So
right.
We'll see how that all goes with the kiddos. So
I wonder if you could do placeholder notes too, where it would be there's some information, ahead of time. Where,
that's true.
Like the speaker bio, because then at least something would show up in the feed on iTunes.
That's true. And I could put links in. I could pull together the pics. That's what people usually are looking for when they're looking at the show notes anyway.
That's true. Yep.
So I could get that much together. But it's all kind of been, it's been nuts this week. So anyway, but we pulled it together, and if I could just get things moving along with the show notes and everything else so that I don't have to scramble to get them done, that would be really nice.
Yeah. The missing piece in the chain.
Yeah, and I have a show notes person in Philippines. She only halfway flaked out on me. And she keeps asking me what to work on, and I keep telling her work on this episode, and she keeps not working on that episode. So I don't know. It must be me. I don't know. Anyway, so that's all been fun. and frustrating. It's been super frustrating, to be honest. But yeah, that's what I've been doing this week.
Nice.
How
So
about
the
you?
the Angular Summit, is this the first one that you've done in a while?
I did the newbie conference in July, and
Okay.
people seem to really like that one too, but they had to pay to get into that one, so I didn't have as many attendees.
Hmm.
Um, I'm honestly with the Angular Summit, I wonder a little bit about people because I mean they signed up, they knew they weren't going to get recordings, and we probably had 100 people consistently coming to um, the sessions, and
Okay.
I have like 700 people who signed up for access.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know. I don't understand that, at all. It's like, okay, well, maybe there's just one talk that they want to hear. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, it's also probably during the day, right? So,
yeah, it is.
I mean, I've seen on webinars. So, well, like, okay, so for example, we had 1,200 people sign up to be in the Facebook group for the book launch,
Uh huh.
and by signing up for that group, they were committing to write a review for the book.
Right.
So John was hoping that we could get like 500 or more reviews. What we ended up getting was around 200.
Right.
So about a fifth of them, or no, 1/6 of them actually came through and did what they said they were going to do. So 100 out of 700 on the webinars.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah, and like I've seen the same thing with webinars and stuff. Like it's the turnout rate's usually about 25% or sometimes lower. So that
Yep.
doesn't surprise me too much. Especially with an
No.
event like this, it's a rolling thing, so people will jump in and jump off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But that's been interesting. I did send an email out on Wednesday, and I basically um, I tagged the people who had attended as having attended in Drip,
Okay.
and then I basically told Drip send this to all of the people who signed up for the conference except for the people who have attended, and just said, hey, you missed out on these talks. The price is going up on the all access pass, so if you want to watch those, you want to get it now. And then if you haven't, and you're not going to do that, but you want to see one of these other talks, then you want to make sure that you're paying attention so that you can come. So
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah, I think I've got this nut pretty well cracked. I just need to automate it now so somebody else can do a lot of this work.
Sweet. And how much are you thinking? I mean, like, what does the income look like from doing one of these for you? Is it still fairly
Um,
small?
it's pretty small. Um, I
It's
think
more
if
of an
I had
audience
done a little
play.
bit more marketing, like if I'd done the marketing better, and if I had done the follow up and got people to convert more, I think I probably could have doubled or tripled what I brought in. But
Well, if you're going to keep doing them, you can build those pieces
yep,
and as you go. So every time you do it, it gets a little better.
yep. The other thing is that like the Angular audience is it's there are a lot of people out there doing Angular, but it's still somewhat limited. Ruby's kind of in the same boat, but I want to do a JavaScript one toward the beginning of next year.
Hmm.
And if I can pull that out, I'm pretty sure I can get several thousand people on the list and involved.
Hmm.
And, I think I can make that one pay off. And
Yep.
so then it's just a matter of, okay, what else can I do that will pay off in this way? Maybe it's a React one or something.
Right. So did you go with you went with the free model for this one then
Yeah.
as an experiment?
Yep.
How are you feeling about it? Like the results, is it?
I'm pretty happy with it overall. Um, people were pretty happy to participate in it. People were pretty happy to, I did gain like 600 subscribers on my list
Yeah.
that
Which
I
is
didn't have
like
before.
a 10%? bump for you or something, or no? 5 or
It's
6?
a 5%. No, yeah, I think it's
Okay.
5%
Yeah,
bump.
because you've got about 10K, right? Or
About 12K. Yeah.
okay.
So it's a good 5% bump over a month, which I think is pretty darn good. So
Nice.
to the Angular segment of the list, though, it's like a 25% bump.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're looking at it that way.
hmm Yeah, and it's a niche,
Yeah.
still fairly niche.
Yeah.
Angular. How is Angular compared to React? Like, is it is React to me seems like it's a lot more popular now.
So Angular is definitely losing market share to React.
Okay.
And Angular has lost some developers to React, but it's not like an overwhelming exodus.
Okay.
In fact, it's nowhere close. So, and the Angular community is still growing as well.
I'm Google trending Angular. I'm curious. I'd looked at Angular a long time ago, and it looked horrible.
Yeah. So Angular 2 or 4 or whatever, the current version of Angular is much, much better than Angular 1. So.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like let's see. Yeah, it looks like oh, ouch. Ouch. I should show you this. Let me see. Can I do, where's the chat? There it is. Okay. Yeah, take a look at this. It's basically a mountain. It starts in like 2012, goes up like a rocket ship until September of 2014, and then it has been tanking ever since. So I wonder. I'd be curious if that's when React really hit it, like what might have precipitated that. But man.
Oh,
So
you're searching for Angular JS?
yeah.
Maybe. The other thing is they moved away from Angular JS as branding
Okay.
a couple years ago.
There's Angular JS topic, and that one goes up and then kind of flat lines.
Yeah.
So that might be more accurate then. So that seems like, yeah, that's probably the more accurate one then.
Yeah. How do you change the past 12 months?
Yeah.
So go to past 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So React is definitely growing. Um, and a lot of people are saying that it's already overtaken Angular, and a lot of people are saying that it will, and a lot of people are, kind of on the fence, and we'll see. I don't think it matters.
You're covered either way, right?
Yeah, I don't have a React show yet,
Oh, okay.
but I'm working on that, and
Yeah.
I think now is a great time to get in. So we'll probably pull something together. But yeah, the growth on Angular has definitely slowed, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm also curious how it compares with like Vue.
Vue is not one that I've seen much about. Is it similar?
Yeah, it's another JavaScript framework.
Another UI framework?
But yeah, there must be something else that it means, because it's got steady. It's reasonably new, but it's got steady over the last 5 years. Steady
It's probably like a TV show or something.
traffic. I guess Vue Cinemas, VUE Cinemas. If I do like Vue.js or Vue.js, I don't know if it's even going to blip. yeah, it's barely blipping,
Okay.
but it's starting to pick up steam too. I'm not going to invest any effort into it at this point because it's still way too new and it doesn't have
Yeah.
as much mainstream support as these other two do. But yeah. Anyway,
Nice.
so yeah, so that's been my week. It's just been basically handling one emergency after the other and then deciding not to handle one of the emergencies and just release episodes without show notes.
I like that solution.
But yeah. Well, I was staying up all night. I stayed up all night for 2 nights writing show notes, and then I was like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And then it occurred to me, you know what? The sponsors paid for the episodes to go out, and they'll have their banners and stuff. Oh, that was another thing. I figured out that the person I had managing the sponsorships hadn't put banners up on the website, so the sponsors weren't getting the kind of
Uh,
yeah. So I'm going back to them and saying, hey, look, personnel changeover. We're dealing with this, but you get a couple extra weeks of
yeah.
sponsorship
Yeah.
because I'd rather have them find out from me than
Right.
find out because they went to see what was going on, or have them just not want to sponsor anymore because they're not getting the conversions.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather just say, look, if we're going to do this as designed, then yeah, here we go. So
Yeah. That makes sense.
but yeah, so I'm getting a system around all of that, and basically when I sign up a new sponsor, and I'll probably set up another workflow for renewing sponsors just to check in with them and say, okay, do we need to change messaging? Do we need do we need new links, new banners, new anything like that? Can you give me numbers on how it performed and all that stuff, and that way we can get some ideas around that. That's the next kind of big piece that I'm trying to lock in. And what's funny is that once I do that, again, 90% of it is something that I can give to somebody else to just manage. And I can still be the front person, right? So I can send the emails and then I just put the tickets into Asana and say, okay,
Right.
this is what we're doing. So
Nice. Well, this is my last week without John.
where is he now? Is he still in Italy
I
or is he
think he's
somewhere?
actually. I think he was in Venice this week, and I think he's
Uh-huh.
flying home now. So
Okay.
yeah, so he'll be hopefully back up and running next week. So yeah, I spent a bunch of time this week. Well, I basically put a lot of thought and focus into the sponsorship side of things because right now we're probably around $8,000 a month in sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that we could be at 30 if we had a good queue of sponsors lined up and things were really cranking because we've got like 5 different channels. Like we got the podcast, the YouTube channel, the email list is the most popular one by far. That's what people are most interested in. The
Mm-hmm.
website and social, and there's a lot of room on each of those because we're doing a ton of content. So I looked back at our customers, and I realized something interesting that basically, so total we've generated in the last year, I think around 65,000 in sponsorship
Mm-hmm.
income, and uh, basically 90 or 95% of that came from 2 sponsors, and then the rest of the sponsors we've had were like useless. Like we
Mm-hmm.
got $500 or $1,000 from them. And I realized, so I went in, I did some research on LinkedIn about the companies that were giving us a good amount of income, and realized that they all were like ranked by LinkedIn as having 200 to 500 employees.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that I've been, I mean, as far as qualifying any kind of leads before we chase them down, that's going to be the first step. Is like, do they have at least 200 employees? because the smaller companies just, they don't have enough. A lot of times their customer value is just not high enough that spending, because I figured out our sponsorships are running around $6 a click right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is pretty, it's probably pretty cheap compared to AdWords.
Right.
In a lot of these niches. And a lot of these companies may have already like kind of saturated AdWords anyway, or the other platforms that they have access to. So they're looking for more, just looking for more traffic. So they have to be able to afford $6 a click. And if you don't have if you're not, customer value is not in the hundreds to thousands of dollars, you're not going to be able to afford that.
Right.
So yeah, so I went into, after that, I went into our CRM and I basically like deleted, I went through all the companies I had been looking at and I deleted 2/3 of them easily.
Right.
So from now on, like that's who we're gonna chase. And so yeah, I think that I am actually going to be I think part of the problem why I've been having such a hard time wrapping my head around how to manage all this stuff is that not having a sales background in like this sort of pipeline driven approach. I'm basically reinventing the wheel. I think that this is I'm just thinking about this in a different way than salespeople do. And so, and all the tools are really geared to be for sales teams.
Right.
And I think that's a big part of the problem. So I'm actually looking to, I think our next step, I still have to run this by John because he hasn't been online all week, but I think we really need to just hire somebody and outsource this. Somebody, because
sponsorship sales, you mean?
Yeah, I think we need to just find somebody who has experience doing media, like, because there's people that do like I found on LinkedIn, I went on LinkedIn and there were tons of job postings for media ad sales, like or online advertising sales positions. So there's people with a lot of experience doing this, and I found a couple of them on Upwork and their hourly rate was listed at like $25. So I don't think that they would be super expensive to hire as a freelancer, and we could basically put them on commission. So if they're
the way I would want to go. Yeah.
Yeah, like 15 to 30% commission. If somebody could book us $30,000 in business, in sponsorship, I'd be happy to pay them 15% commission.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think this is sort of outside of my skill set. I could definitely develop it, but I'd rather I think it would be better to just find somebody who was already good at cold calling and establishing connections with companies and knows B2B advertising sales, because it's a whole it's really a whole field.
Well, the other thing is if you get the right person, they may already have those connections, right? They may not have to do a lot of cold calling.
Exactly. So. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm hoping, is that they might bring a kind of a book of business to the table with them. So
yeah, I've thought about the same kind of thing, just from the standpoint of, I've done most of the sponsorship sales myself. And for a while I felt like, they want to talk to me because I run everything, but I realized that they don't care. Like if they talk to me, or if they talk to somebody who has the title of like, advertising manager or something like that. Yeah. And as long as things get done and, yeah. So I may wind up doing some of the sales, but that's the extent of it. Somebody else can do all the research. They can do all of the setup and tear down and the whole 9 yards. And all I have to do is kind of be the pretty face on it. So
Yeah, like a lot of the tools that I've looked at sort of assume that you're going to have a team with
mhm.
these well-defined roles, and so there's actually not a lot of automation capability, because they just assume that you have all of the, like, your people are the automation. And so so they're then they're basically just facilitating some manual process.
Right.
And it ends up being it could I could definitely do it, but I think it would just be a full-time I think it would end up being kind of a full-time job for me, and it's not really that great of a use of my time.
Yeah, I agree. And thinking about it, for my position, I can do all of the sales, and I'll probably be able to increase the my income, increase the business income.
Mhm.
Um, but my time is better spent building more inventory. So setting up the React podcast and the Elixir podcast and things like that. Because I mean, yeah, even if each sale is $50,000 or $100,000, let's say,
Mhm.
and they sign up for a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever, right? Um, setting up a show is 10 sales, right, in a year,
Right.
or 20
Right.
sales in a year. So it doesn't matter what the size of the sale is, because at the end of the day, a new show means more of those.
Right.
If I can find one that kind of hits that spot. And so, yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, there are so many things that you can do in your business, just like for me. And yeah, doing sponsorship sales versus, finding another stream of income. Yeah, it's kind of at a different level.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we've proven out that it works, and we've got a couple of sponsors that are getting some results here. And so, but yeah, like as far as scaling it up, I just have been feeling so much friction trying to
Yeah.
get some forward progress with it. And really, the like what I need is somebody. So the problem is, I need, for to run a pipeline like this, you need like hundreds of leads. And I've been struggling with trying to make a tool help me do that.
Well, I don't know if it's hundreds of leads, but if it's not hundreds of leads, then you have to have really good leads.
Hundreds of prospects. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you've got to be able to. So, like, if you're going to be cold calling, like, like the just
Yeah.
to get somebody to even email you back, you need if you send out 100 emails to 100 different companies, you might only actually get responses, even any kind of response at all, from 10 or 20 of them.
Right.
So so you need volume on the front end to generate, to get some. When you're cold prospecting, you need a lot of volume,
Yep.
and I don't have the time to generate that volume, and I don't have a tool that makes it easy for me to do. So
Yep. Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I don't know what a tool like that would even look like. I mean, it would crawl the web and could give you like basic data, but you would still need a person, or, some kind of machine learning algorithm that actually works. And I don't know what that would look like either, right? Because it to me, it's almost intuitive. And so it's hard for me to say, oh, yeah, that one's good, that one's bad, in any kind of algorithmic way. I just look at it, look at their offering, and I
yeah,
can go,
exactly.
yeah, that makes sense. I can sell that. Or
Right.
I look at something and I go, you know
Not
what? Maybe
Yeah.
there's some angle on this. I'll talk to them and see what they're about. And sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I'm sorry, I have no idea how to sell this.
Yeah. I'm not even looking. I wouldn't even be looking for something to automate the actual finding of companies. It's more like, because I think that's something that a person probably needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really need is like a flexible, the flexible top down view of where everything is, and something that makes it easy to manage, like creating next action type of, due
Right.
dates and next actions and that type of things on to keep everything moving. And it's all basically assuming, all these tools basically assume that there's a salesperson that's sitting there on the phone making a call and then making notes in the CRM, checking the right boxes and then moving
Yeah.
on to the next call. And I can't do that. I need something that can do that like 1,000 times faster.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. When you said that, sitting there and entering this information into the CRM, yeah, that I totally agree, because yeah, it's a time killer. It just sucks
Yeah.
all that time out. And if it was something where, especially if they're like an email follow up, right, on a certain interval, which is kind of the way that I do things. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Is I'm going into my CRM, I'm typing up the email, making a few notes in it, and then setting up a new task to follow up. And that
Right.
sucks. What I want
Yeah.
is I want an interface that will, where it'll just pull up the next person I need to email, maybe show their history or something on the side. And then I just type out the email, it sends it, it keeps them in the follow up sequence. And then if they email me back or anything like that, then it kind of, suspends that until I decide what automation it needs to go to next.
Yeah. Yep. There's nothing. I haven't found anything that really hits the nail on the head.
I just need to build my own CRM.
Run away! Run away! Don't do it.
What's funny is that I have been thinking about like pulling together a course that would be, here's how to build a single page app with Angular or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think people would pay for that. And then at the same time, I would kill the other bird, which would be, it would be this CRM automation tool. But yeah, I've been using Bluetick for a lot of this too, but it just doesn't do what I need it to. I mean, I can set somebody up on a sequence and it'll do all the follow up that way, as long as there's something else in the sequence. But yeah, for ongoing follow up, it just
I
doesn't.
realize that's not my biggest problem. Like my biggest problem is being able to see the status, see at a glance the status of all. What I'd love to do would be to take Trello and like mash it up with a CRM.
Right.
To where like and oh man, I mean like HubSpot is kind of like does this, but it's so Trello is nice because it's so free form.
Mm-hmm.
And you can you can kind of use it however you want. And HubSpot's like they have a little bit of a pipeline view that looks a little bit like a Trello board, but there's no data on it, and I can't, like, it doesn't help me. It's not like it's not a usable task management interface.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think we need to just hire someone. It's gonna be tough. I don't know. Like, so I wrote up a job description and posted it on Upwork, and I've only gotten one person applying. So if Chuck, or if anybody listening knows anybody who has done like media sales for magazines, newspapers, websites, that's the type of person that we'd be looking for. I'd be interested in hearing from them. But I mean, I think I'm good. I actually, okay, so the other thing I've been doing this week is I experimented with LinkedIn advertising. And this might be something that you want to consider for sponsorships. So I realized that, so LinkedIn advertising is something I've never really tried because it's expensive, right? Like
it's really expensive.
They have a minimum of $2 a click on the text ads. So Google, with Google there is no minimum. There's literally, you could probably still run Google ads for a penny.
Right.
So, but yeah, so they have a minimum of $2 a click, which means that you need to be selling something that's really expensive in order
Right.
for that to pay off. And I've never really thought about it because like our courses and stuff they're not profitable enough to where we could do that. But if if a sponsor is worth $20,000, well, $2 a click now doesn't sound so bad. So I set up I ran 2 campaigns this week. One of them was the text ad campaign, and one of them was the paid InMail. And
Uh-huh.
I was actually like the paid InMail is really interesting. So I created a campaign. I was able to target it at companies that were at least 200 employees who were in the IT space. Like I basically took the avatar of our
Mm-hmm.
best customer, and I just used that to base the targeting. And I was getting, so with the InMail ads, I was getting like a 60% read rate,
Oh, wow.
and I was paying $2 a click to have them go to view our sponsorship page.
Oh, that's not bad. Because I
No.
can imagine, let's say you have 500 companies that it sends it to, and you have, 100 of those click it. I mean, that's $200 to pay for the advertising, but you land one and it pays for itself.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so I don't know. I'm gonna let this run for a while. I have not gotten any. The engagement stats look pretty compelling.
Mm-hmm.
What LinkedIn does with the InMail is they only show your ads to people that are actually logged into LinkedIn and online at the moment.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like you're just blasting InMail out to everyone. It's like these people are actually online, so they're going to see some kind of notification.
Right.
And so and then they also limit it so that you can only get a sponsored InMail message once every 60 days.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like you're competing and against, they're not getting flooded with these things. So it's
Oh,
kind of
nice.
a novelty. Yeah, so basically it costs about 75 cents to send a LinkedIn InMail, and then I was getting a 4.5% click rate over to my sponsorship page. So that might be something for you that
Yeah,
would be worth
it
looking
sounds
into.
like it's worth trying, just seeing what happens.
But I'm thinking actually that I might use that. I might actually try using the InMail messages to go prospecting for a sales guy.
Hmm.
Basically try to. I'm sure I could narrow it down by job title or something, and maybe get them to watch a video or something that explains what we want, and make them jump through some little hoop of a short application or something.
Yeah, there are also, I mean, there are people out there that do podcast advertising, that's what they do. And I can introduce you to a few of them as well.
I'd appreciate that actually. It seems like there's like a lot. It's pretty easy to find people that have like some kind of marketplace or store where they're selling like buy sell ads, where they're selling like really
Uh-huh.
cheap access, cheap sponsorships. But
Right.
yeah, I definitely would be interested to hear from
Yeah,
some of
it's
your
worth a
contacts.
shot. Yeah, I'll put you in touch with some of these folks.
Cool. Yeah, I'm pretty much just like tapping my network at this point and asking around, and
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
so that's the most interesting stuff I've been working on this week. We also have we have this publishing deal or licensing deal that we're working on with. There's a company. I think I won't say the name right now, but there's a big company that has content that is available for. They license and redistribute content to companies for like as like a corporate education program,
Mm-hmm.
and they are huge. Like they have like well over 1 million users. They work with Fortune 500 like big, the U.S. government and Fortune 500 companies to do like their IT training and stuff. And so we're finalizing with them a deal to license out the complete guide or complete software developer's career guide. So and then they also want to license the podcast. So, and we get paid on consumption. So if somebody downloads the book and reads half of it, we get paid based on the number of pages they read.
Huh.
So that could be it's just one of those things where it could be nothing or it could end up being pretty huge for us. So I've been scrambling around getting details pulled together to make that happen. But that'll be happening, I think next week. It should be going live.
Cool.
So, yep.
Interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, me too. And then John will be back next week, and we're gonna just dive. I think we're gonna dive right into working on the audiobook, getting that done, and launched.
Doesn't that mostly involve John standing in front or sitting in front of a mic for long periods of time?
It's gonna be about 20 hours of audio. And then, well, that's assuming he doesn't do too many side rants, which he did in the other book. But yeah, we're gonna launch it to the list too. So there will be a nice, decent sized marketing effort to go alongside it. But I'm thinking that will probably double our book revenue. I think the audiobook will be at least as popular as the print.
Nice.
In Kindle.
Yeah, I almost exclusively consume audiobooks when I do books these days. So
yeah, I'm about 50-50. I usually have at least an audiobook and a Kindle book going at the same time.
Yeah, I've got I'll usually listen to a book, and then if I feel like I either need to get the Kindle book to dive into it deeper, or it's kind of hard to reference or search the audio.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
So. Yep.
Anyway, I got to push us toward thoughts because I have another talk coming up in 10 minutes.
Makes sense.
And I probably need to grab something to eat before.
Okay. Well, I think mine is going to be. This is not universally true, but in marketing, when someone tells you, "Oh, it'll work, just give it time," they're almost always scamming you.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my experience. So the whole oh, you need to this just needs to gain momentum, or you just give it time and give it a year and it'll work. No, it very rarely works that way. If you're not seeing at least some promising results happening early, chances are it's a scam. So we've been I've been experimenting with this jobs search page, and the company that approached us about this has this it's real easy to set up. It's like one of those HTML widget type of things, and so I was like, okay, we'll give it a try. And so they wanted us to promote this thing heavily all over the website, and I'm doing the math, and I'm like, there's no way that this is gonna work. Because it's just we'd have to send 10% of our traffic to make any kind of appreciable money on this. We'd have to send 10% of our traffic to this page, and there's no way that's ever going to happen. And but they kept telling us stories about that we had this thing with our last advertiser that came on, they didn't see anything for 2 weeks, and then after that it just took off, and they're making a couple $100 a day on it now. And I was like, I was not buying it at all. But I was like, okay, we'll try it. And yeah, it's completely bombing, and it's not going to go anywhere. The whole idea, in marketing, there are things that do take some time. Like I know I think radio and TV spots actually get more effective as you run them. But for the most part, stuff either works right away or it doesn't work. And like with direct mail, typically what you see is you do a mailing and you get your result back, and then if you do another mailing, you get half of what you got on the first. It doesn't get more effective, it gets less because you've already picked all the low-hanging fruit, and your returns actually diminish over time, and that's usually the pattern that you see. So cut your losses early. I'm about to pull the plug on this stupid thing. It's been more just out of curiosity to see what they'll tell us, but yeah.
Yep.
It ain't gonna work.
Yeah, for me, I mean, this week has mostly just been about either, creating the process and then trusting the process, sticking to the process, or sticking to the process that I already have. And so, I mean, and if you can create some kind of accountability, for me, it was just automating a checklist as you go. I mean, that does a lot of it. So yeah, that's kind of the deal, and it's working, and things are looking really good. Eric has put in a ton of work to get us caught up on editing, and by caught up I mean ahead on editing, and that's just been terrific to see. And if I can get these show notes things together and just make some of this happen that way, that will be awesome as well. Of course, you just saying, well, why don't you just put, the basic information in the show notes? It does get me thinking, my show notes have been pretty involved. And I don't know if that's really the big payoff, right?
Right.
Maybe I do just need somebody to listen through it and pull out links and then just write a 2-paragraph summary.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder, it's so hard. That's so hard to evaluate.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But anyway, it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. So, but yeah, it and that's just, back to the processes thing. I could modify my process and just do that.
Yeah.
So I may go look and see what other popular shows are doing for their show notes.
That's not a bad idea. Because you basically have been building like an index/summary of the whole episode.
Yeah, and I just don't know if I need that. If people want that kind of information, that they can listen to the show.
Look at the top. Go and just look at the top 10 podcasts in some of the bigger categories like health and. I mean, I know for me personally, the way I use show notes is pretty much like read the headline, the title of the show, expand the show notes in iTunes or on my podcast app to get a gist of who the person is that I'm going to be hearing from in the interview. And if they sound like they're talking about a topic that I'm interested in, boom, I'll listen.
Yeah, I mean,
it's basically like an ad for the show.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking is, I just been doing the show notes this way because that's kind of where we evolved to. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that, yeah, I mean, the show notes are primarily there to get people to listen to the episode. And so if I can say, here's who the guest is and here's what we talked about, so basically 2 paragraphs, one for each of those things. And then after they listen to the show, it's where's the link to that thing that I heard about.
Yeah.
And so if I can put those links in, I think there's a payoff there.
Look at Tim Ferriss's podcast. That would be a good one to look at. But yeah, I tend to agree with you. It's an ad, and then like anything the things that can't come across well in a podcast are things like links. So
yeah.
Is anyone really going to read 500 words worth? The way you've been doing it has been more like a reference.
Yes, and I don't know that people are really gonna. Yeah, I don't know that people are really gonna look at it that way. The other thing is that Yeah. The info in the episode, goes out of date. So
Right.
having a reference there for it, it may not be relevant in a year. Yeah, looking at Tim Ferriss's, he's basically got like a 3-paragraph intro, at least to the guest that I'm looking at here. And then in this interview, we cover a lot, including bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. And the fourth
Right.
bullet point is, and much, much more.
Right.
So, yeah. And then, yeah.
It's basically just enough to get people to take the next step, which is listen to the episode.
Yeah. Well, and then I could actually write these show notes, right? I could write them right after the episode.
Yeah.
We talked about this, 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 and this. Okay. Anyway, I got to jump off because I've got to get this next speaker set up. But
Sounds good.
Thanks for jogging my brain and making me think about this stuff, because I'm probably wasting a ton of effort and money trying to get all this stuff together.
Yeah, so. Honestly, if you were going to do anything, I would say probably what you're doing is basically a cross between show notes and a transcript.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do anything going whole hog on the transcript, which you may not want to do either, but that, for the people that really want that kind of reference material, the transcript would be better.
So. Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, cool.
All right.
Sorry, I'm kind of halfway into. I got to get this set up. So
yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah.
And yeah,
John should be here.
Yeah, but I've got to go get this speaker onboarded. So
awesome. All right. See you, Chuck.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.